Hello everyone, it's Theme Park Avenue, I'm Eric. Six Flags is the biggest park chain in America in terms of quantity. It has many parks all around the states. However, it does not have one in theme park hotspot Florida. So what if it did? Before I discuss my ideas for a Floridian Six Flags park, subscribe to the channel so you know when new coaster content comes out. I upload 2 times a week. And let's get into this topic. First of all, we should discuss where in Florida would a Six Flags park go. What's the first place that comes to mind when you think a theme park in Florida? Orlando. Of course. I personally think the Six Flags park should not be in Orlando or near Orlando. The main reason would be competition, of course. Obviously, I'm sure the fact that most of the rides and attractions in the Orlando area are not particularly thrill-based could mean a lot of people would want to go to a Six Flags if they are there for thrill-seeking. I still don't think they should go anywhere near a Disney park, or a Universal park for that matter, especially with Universal kind of stepping more into the thrill zone. And I should point out, it could be in kind of the outskirt area of Florida's Orlando parks, in like Winter Haven where Legoland is, but I don't think they should do that either, as being within even 2 hours of Orlando really easily could honestly be detrimental to the visitation. A lot of people would want to go to the other parks. Tampa? No, I don't think so. The main thing is Busch Gardens is already a thrill-based park. Having another one there, I'm just not sure it would work. A good example of how this would work, California, you don't really have more than one park that's super thrill. I know Knott's Berry Farm has some thrills, but it's really Six Flags Magic Mountain. So what's another popular area in Florida? Miami? I don't think Miami is a good place personally. It is undoubtedly popular, and a lot of people go there, but I don't think it's a tourist destination for a theme park. It just doesn't seem like the right area to me. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I don't think there should be a big theme park in Miami. So what area does that leave? Jacksonville. For those of you who don't know, Jacksonville is a city in somewhat northeastern Florida. It is one of the largest cities, at least by city proper, and it basically has an entire county in it because it's a huge city. It is full of city parks, no theme parks though, and pretty much none in the general area. So, I think it is good to have one there. What would make Jacksonville good? Well, first of all, there is the fact that, it's in Florida, so that means it fits that bill, but the other more important thing, I think, is that Jacksonville is a large city that is in a somewhat populous area. The Florida Panhandle has a lot of visitors, and I think they would be more interested in the theme park. Given that it's closer to the border of other states, maybe people from Atlanta would come here before they go to Orlando for travel's sake, and a lot of people in the eastern but not super far northeast US, places like the Carolinas and Tennessee, maybe they would want to go to this Six Flags park. That would be a very good thing. And I also think Jacksonville is good because of one other major thing, and that is the fact that it's not that near Orlando. I really don't think this park should be near Orlando, and that is the final main reason why Jacksonville, I think, is the area. I know it definitely seems weird at first, but I think it's just a strong one. So now let's get into the actual park, because honestly, talking about Jacksonville, I'm sure it's kind of boring for some of you. What should the theming of this park be? Well, this is Florida, and I don't know a single major park that doesn't have a decent level of theming to it. Actually, pretty much compared to any other park outside of Southern California and a couple Persian parks maybe, I think pretty much every Florida park is way up there for theming. So, I think this would be one of the most themed Six Flags parks. It would have to be really close, if not above Fiesta Texas, to really appeal to the Florida market in a way. In terms of themed areas, I think it would kind of follow a Disney format. It would be a lot of different areas with different themes that are drastically apart from each other. My ideas would be definitely a big DC themed area. I think that could be really impressive. This one may sound weird, but I think a Western one, something that's not super related to Florida, but still one that can really have a nice theme to it. I think a tropical beach theme would be a good one because this is Florida, so having one that's kind of appealing to that crowd would be strong. One theme to space, That one stands out to me mainly for the Kennedy Space Center being in Florida, and I think it's just one that would interest a lot of people. And then a Looney Tunes themed area that's a bit more than just your standard kids area, like a dark ride in it, something like Seuss Landing, sort of. And then just a really strong entrance plaza that looks really nice. So this would be 6, 7 different themed areas. I'm leaning towards 6. I think it's good to keep it smaller. That's the same as Magic Kingdom, so this could have some similarities. But I don't think, given that it's a Six Flags park, anyone will be saying it's ripping off Disney in any way. So that's for theming. What about the coasters? That is possibly the most important part, as it is the thing Six Flags focuses on most with their attractions. What should they have there? Well, I have a decent list of rides I think should definitely be at this park. The first is a Hyper. Who should make the Hyper? I'm not sure. I think B&M could be good. The biggest issue with that is there is a B&M Hyper in SeaWorld Orlando already. But the reason the Hyper overall is good is because there's very few airtime coasters in Florida. In fact, I'd say once Iron Gwazi opens, that'll be the third one that has a decent level of airtime to it. And that would mean it definitely needs a few more. So, a Hyper coaster. I think B&M definitely works better for the airtime thing, and I think a B&M Hyper could be really strong. Again, the weirdest thing would just be that there is a Hyper that is by B&M already in Florida, but there isn't one by Intamin per se. But we'll get to that maybe some other time. Another thing I think this should have, honestly, I think this park needs to have a free spin. I know that sounds weird, but I think that would be kind of interesting for people who only go to Florida parks. If you're a thrill seeker and you've only been to Florida parks, you've never experienced anything like a 4D free spin. It could be kind of interesting for some people. I think having a good level of theming on that one as well would be very important. The next thing, this park should have a launch coaster. I recognize that there are many launch coasters already in Florida, but there are many launch coasters in other states that are across multiple parks as well, and I think that's kind of important. I know that's kind of saying like it's integral to the layout and all, but I still think a launch coaster is really important. A good themed one, definitely on the more thrilling side, closer to Velocicoaster than Hagrid's. I'm not thinking world class per se, maybe, but I think a good launch coaster, maybe a Premier Rides one, would be good for this park. Next up, one that I think, though it is in Florida already, is one that would just really appeal to that crowd, a flying coaster. In terms of Vekoma or B&M, I think B&M is the way to go, as we haven't heard a whole lot yet about flying coasters from Vekoma. We only know about one, and there isn't really any going on in the States, so I think it is good to stick with B&M. A good, as weird as this sounds, terrain-based one. There'd have to be a lot of trees, but terrain is kind of interesting in Florida because we have none. So, yeah, but I still think a flying coaster would be good. A pretzel loop would be a cool element for some, and the graceful feeling would be good for others. So it's definitely one that could work out pretty well. I also think a wooden coaster is really important. There are only 2 in Florida, and they are at parks that very few go to, I think. There is actually a third, but it's more family-based. I think a thrilling wooden coaster is important. Who should make it? I think RMC. A ground-up RMC wooden coaster could be really cool. I am not suggesting anything like Lightning Rod, but closer to Goliath at Great America. Still very unique, but I think that is the way to go for a wooden coaster. Also, I think a B&M invert with an original layout should be at this park. I know there is one B&M invert already in Montu, and it's really hard to beat. But that is why I think a Batman the Ride would not be a great fit. I think this park really should have something that could kind of compete with Montu in its layout. Because Batman the Rides are already basically just as intense as Montu. So I think having a layout that can compete with Montu could make this park a real destination for people who like roller coasters. And then I also think a unique RMC single rail would be good here. None of the 2 layouts that we already know about, but I think that would also be one that'd be pretty interesting for a lot of people in Florida. And the final thing, more family-based, a Vekoma Mine Train. This can be incredibly well themed, and that is the primary reason why I think it would be good. So those are all of the roller coasters that I'm going to talk about here. So already, a list of 9, it's quite a few. And I think that's basically what they would need for opening day. Maybe a kiddie coaster as well, but those are things that I'd like to see in the first few years of the park opening, whether it's opening day or soon after. But let's move to dark rides. Yes, dark rides are obviously not Six Flags' forte, but I do think this park needs to have some. The main reason is, well, this is Florida. I don't know a single park that doesn't have a dark ride that isn't major. Busch Gardens doesn't count because it has lots of theming. But you know what? Yeah, that one doesn't have one. But I still think Six Flags should be able to try to compete with Disney parks in terms of dark rides. Now, I know what you're thinking. It can't possibly compete given that Disney puts a lot of its money into animatronics and theming. So how could Six Flags compete? Well, I don't know about everyone else, but I think fun is just as important as theming. And Six Flags, I think they can do the fun part if it's done right. There are 2 dark rides I suggest. First, I think there should be a shooting ride that is not Justice League Battle for Metropolis. That would just seem far too low budget for the people who go to Florida, I think. I personally like the ride, but I think they would complain that why would they go here if they can do Toy Story Mania or even Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin? And then, of course, others like Men in Black Alien Attack, which are on a whole other level. But I overall think it's just a good idea to have a shooting ride. They're fun. They're competitive. I think it'd be really good. I don't think it should be Tryotech. I think it should focus on practical a lot and be really cool. I'm just not quite sure how it would work. I don't have a whole lot of details. It could really go in any area. It could either be a Western themed one, or it could be space themed. It could also be DC themed, but not be Battle for Metropolis. And the other dark ride I want to talk about is a Looney Tunes dark ride. I think there has to be something like Cat in the Hat. That kind of goes through the whole story of a Looney Tunes episode, maybe Bugs Bunny trying to get away from Elmer Fudd, or Roadrunner and Coyote. It'd be a fun one for the kids, and just be, maybe not the most impressive one, but definitely one that is charming for families and very fun overall. That's all for the rides. There are 2 more points I want to discuss, and the first is one that a lot of you probably didn't even consider, but would this be a resort? Why would I even make a Six Flags park a resort? This is Florida. A lot of the parks are resorts. Those in the Orlando area, all of them are. Disney World, that is a huge resort. Universal Orlando, major resort, it's even in the name. Legoland has hotels, and they are building and building and building. Would a Six Flags park have hotels since it is in Florida and may have to compete with that? No, I don't think so. Definitely not. I just don't think that would work. But it is a good point to discuss, as there is the possibility of it trying to compete with Disney by having a hotel. The thing about that, though, is just it's hard to theme a hotel in that way because it's Six Flags and not really huge cohesive themes. But overall, that's my thoughts on resorts. And the final thing is when this would be made, because Epic Universe is underway, of course, so that makes it kind of tough. Would this be competing with Epic Universe when it opens? Well, I think this would either have to be scrambled together and put up before Epic Universe opened, or be multiple years after Epic Universe. 3, 4, even 5, because the hype needs to wear off a bit. Everyone would go to Epic Universe, I think, if a Six Flags park and Epic Universe opened at the same time. Unless Six Flags had an elite roller coaster and Epic Universe did not. Then that would be a split, but I just don't think it's good to open against the Universal Park ever. So this would definitely be in the far future, but it's just a couple of ideas for a Six Flags park. And that is the whole video. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on a new Six Flags park down below. Maybe one in your own home state if it's not Florida. Subscribe to the channel for more content, and like the video if you enjoyed. I'll see you next time.